Morning, everybody. We'll call this morning's meeting to order for our Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, January 4th. Happy New Year, everyone. Our first item is the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Cayley, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next, we have a employee recognition. We have one today. Is Stephen here, I think?
Yep.
Stephen, all right. Come on over. Well, Stephen, this is presented in grateful recognition for 20 years of outstanding and dedicated service to Clay County and its citizens. Congratulations. And your boss is here. He's going to say a little bit about you here. Dave?
Okay. Steve was the very first employee I hired back in 2002, actually only 7 months after I got hired on. He was initially hired as one of our truck drivers, and then in March of 2007, he was promoted to the motor grader operator in the Comstock district and has been there ever since. Steve is a very hard worker. He's willing to take on any task or job that's given to him. He never complains. He's never sick. He's one of our most dependable employees in our department.
Except for this year, don't worry about it.
One little.
That's all right.
He's willing to help out in whatever way is needed. He's very talented, and he can run almost any piece of equipment that we have. His dedication, along with his great upbeat, always smiling attitude, makes him a great asset to our department and Clay County, and I congratulate him on 20 years of great service to Clay County.
You know, I might say a couple words too. We have known the Trowbridge family forever, and they are heart of gold people. And for someone who has been dug out because of the work that you do, thank you so much for all you do. I know that sometimes working an operator position in the rural areas can be a thankless job, but we are so grateful for the work that you continue to do. So thank you very much.
All right, very good. Thank you. All right, next we have citizens to be heard. Do we have any citizens to be heard on items not on the agenda? I see none in the audience. Do we have any online?
Nothing, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Steve. Next, we have the approval of bills and vouchers.
Move to approve bills and vouchers.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Cayley, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next, we will move into the State of the County address, and I just want to point out that this is scheduled for 10 minutes, but the work that we have done on this between myself and Steve and covering all the departments, I'm going to go long. Imagine that.
What?
Well, good morning, everyone. On behalf of my fellow commissioners, I would like to wish you all a Happy New Year and thank you for allowing us to continue to serve the citizens of Clay County. While we face many challenges in 2021, such as COVID-19 variants and workforce challenges, there were also many opportunities, like business resurgence and county facility upgrades. I feel confident that the Clay County continues to be in an excellent position to meet the ever-changing needs of our citizens. We continue to see unprecedented growth in Clay County, being one of the fastest growing counties in the state of Minnesota. The initial 2020 census information showed increase of 6,310 citizens, bringing the total population to 65,318, or a 10.71% increase over the last 10 years. From Ulen to Barnesville, Hawley to Glendon, we have been blessed with both commercial and residential expansion that only further strengthens our communities. This year, 8 departments moved from Clay County Courthouse to the Clay County Government Center that was purchased with Federal CARES Act dollars in 2020. This move to a larger space helped meet the needs for social distancing for citizens and our employees. The move allowed for an additional space and a new courtroom at the courthouse to relieve the demands on our court system. The courtroom will be completed in 2022. The first department we wish to acknowledge this year is our Public Health Department. Kathy McKay, the incident management team, and public health staff continue to provide leadership and guidance in response to COVID-19 pandemic. In addition to partnering with the Minnesota Department of Health and the Center for Disease Control, Public Health continues to coordinate efforts with local K-12 schools, higher education, congregate care facilities, diverse and homeless populations, daycares, work sites, and healthcare systems to assist in their response efforts. The public health team also secured hotel rooms for populations needing isolation and quarantine. The team provided case investigation and contact tracing, and the most significant effort went to distributing vaccinations, providing nearly 19,000 vaccine doses in 2021. The board would like to publicly thank Kathy and her staff for their ongoing work. Their resiliency, flexibility, and leadership during the pandemic is a testament to their commitment to serving the needs of our communities. In May, President Biden signed the American Rescue Plan Act into law, which allotted direct funding to counties, cities, and townships through the state and local funds. Under this program, overseen by the U.S. Department of Treasury, Clay County was awarded over $12 million. Clay County received the first half of this allocation in June. We will be eligible to receive the second half in June of 2022. The board has authorized formation of the Coronavirus Relief Committee led by Commissioners Mojo and myself. The goal of this committee is to bring forward funding opportunities to the full board with the goal, The goal of this committee is to bring forward funding opportunities for consideration. Clay County has until 2024 to incur these funds. The Clay County Board is being very deliberate in allocating these once-in-a-lifetime funds in hopes of leaving a legacy that goes far beyond the next few years. The detox program has continued to see demands for its services increased, highlighting the need for a facility that better meets the needs of the clients it now serves. This past summer, Social Service and Public Health partnered in a grant application through the state of Minnesota, and Clay County was successful in securing $5 million towards the remodel or construction of a new facility. Planning has now begun to look into how to best utilize those funds for a facility that would better serve the citizens of Clay County and our region. Social Services has 129 full-time employees in 9 divisions, administering over 40 different state and federal programs for individuals and families in need. They are tasked with responding to concerns of child abuse and neglect, adult protection, substance abuse, mental health concerns, disability, and elderly services. They also administer the public assistance program on behalf of the state and federal government, such as food support, health care, housing, and cash grants. The state of Minnesota recently launched an online application called Min Benefits for some of the state and federal public assistance programs, such as cash grants, child care, and food support. The link to this is posted on our Clay County website. In addition, Social Services conducts the licensing activities on behalf of the state for family daycare and adult and child foster homes. While Social Services is fortunate to work with numerous community service providers that help support our mandated service, there continues to be significant need for licensed child care providers in our community, along with licensed foster care providers. Social Service continues to see an ongoing impacts due to COVID-19 in a number of areas. There has been an increase in concern relative to school engagement and truancy. In addition, requests for home and community-based services for the elderly and people with disabilities has increased along with the intakes for our adult protection area. With the continued growth of our community, the Clay County Sheriff's Department has not been immune from the demand for service. With an increased calls from 16,881 in 2020 to over 20,000 calls in 2021, 2020 versus 2021. COVID-19 continued to create challenges for the Sheriff's Office, not only in day-to-day interactions with the public, but also with the Correctional Center. With COVID-19 screening and protocol in place at the Correctional Center, the facility did not have a COVID-19 outbreak throughout 2021. That was very, very good. The Sheriff's Department, like many departments, has been challenged with workforce issues in the Correctional Center. This board has worked with the Sheriff's Department in taking steps that we believe will assist in recruitment and retention. The Sheriff's Office continued to work each day, treating our community under their mantra with respect, honor, and integrity and dignity. The West Central Regional Juvenile Centers, both secure and non-secure programs, continue to serve the placement needs of Clay County and 10 other member counties. The center continues to focus on services and programming to address the increased mental health demands of the youth they serve. The program is supported by strong ties with agencies such as the Moorhead School District, Lakeland Mental Health, Lutheran Social Services, and many other providers. Clay County continues to contract the Minnesota Department of Corrections to provide probation services to all juvenile offenders in Clay County, as well as adult misdemeanor and gross misdemeanor offenders and adult individuals on felony supervision. Probation continues to collaborate with the Clay County Attorney's Office, the 7th Judicial Court personnel, and the Public Defender's Office in operating the Clay County Drug Court. The Moorhead District was acknowledged as having one of the highest rates of evidence-based tools being used while serving clients in the community. This leads to changed behavior and reducing recidivism. The County Attorney's Office continues to address both the public and internal demands of the county. In addition to prosecuting all the county cases, they draft contracts and review all county legal documents. They also work closely with social services representing the state in both child and adult cases. The County Attorney's Office has adjusted to all protocols established by the Minnesota Supreme Court due to COVID-19. The closing of the state court system early in 2021 has created a backlog that has created additional work for the County Attorney Office. The Clay County Board recently allowed the county attorney to hire an additional position to relieve this backlog. As a part of the capital bonding project in Clay County, there will be an additional courtroom created in the former boardroom location. Human Resources had a very busy year, serving our 625 full and part-time employees. Along with doing normal employee relations, the HR department also had to adjust its workload to combat the continuing coronavirus pandemic within the Clay County workforce. Workforce shortages have added to their many challenges with recruiting and retaining employees. Clay County adopted a new remote work policy for certain job positions, allowing them to work from home. Human Resources was integral in coordinating with each department to identify which staff qualified under this policy. Remote work allows for improved flexibility in the workforce, modernizes processes and efficiencies, improves employee morale, enhances recruitment and retention, and reduces future capital costs. HR processed 874 job applications and enrolled 161 new employees to replace departing or retiring employees. A new HR payroll system was authorized, which is scheduled to be implemented in the second quarter of 2022. The Highway Department continues to maintain over 1,575 miles of county and township roads. The Highway Department continues to strategically plan for updating critical road and bridge projects on its 5-year plan. The Sign Department completed its first year of a 4-year plan to replace over 1,300 signs, 1/4 of the residents, ensuring any fire or EMT efforts can find their homes in cases of emergencies. Our engineers work closely with the City of Fargo, evaluating the condition of the North Broadway Bridge, which was ultimately closed due to unstable banks and unsafe pier structure. Future plans for this bridge are being studied. The Highway Department will continue to ensure we have safe, quality roads for the citizens of Clay County. In November of 2020, the Department of Motor Vehicles, as we know, DMV, moved to the Moorhead Center Mall. This new location provided the opportunity for citizens to socially distance in a 3,000 square foot lobby. At the same time, the state of Minnesota changed its licensing and registration system. While there were some adjustments needed based on the state of Minnesota to continue to pass additional steps on to counties, this board allocated the necessary resources which cut wait times significantly to better serve the citizens of Clay County in 2021. The Auditor Treasurer's Office is responsible for the collection of taxes, distribution of revenues, classifying tax assessment ratings, paying the county bills, county payroll, and certifying our accounting process to meet the government's standards of acceptable practices. The Minnesota State Auditor's Office presented its report to our administrator, our county auditor treasurer, and to myself as the Clay County Board Chair, reporting on the year ending December 30th, 2020. In the issuance of this report, the state auditor has issued an unqualified opinion of the county's financial statements, verifying we conform to the applicable accounting standards. The Minnesota State audit process and reporting was delayed this year due to COVID, state retirements, and additional audit requirements brought about by the CARES funding counties and cities received in 2020. The Minnesota State Auditor's Office will be providing a full report to the Clay County Board of Commissioners in early 2022. Congratulations to Lori Johnson and her department on another excellent audit report. The Assessor's Office had another extremely busy year. The local boards of review and open book meetings were conducted for the 2021 assessment involving classifications and valuations of close to 28,000 parcels. In May, county appraisal personnel started work in the following jurisdictions: Eglon, Holy Cross, Kurtz, Markin, Sabin, and Ulen Townships, and the city of Ulen. Appraisers also reviewed zoning certificates and building permits of new improvements. Throughout the year, the assessor and staff spends time responding to Clay County taxpayers' needs while meeting all state requirements and deadlines. The Planning and Zoning Department had an extremely busy year. In 2021, the Planning Department approved 176 building permits, a 10-year high, 33 use permits, double the 10-year average, 13 variances, 70 minor subdivisions, and 2 major subdivisions. In addition to record-setting permitting and subdivision activity, Planning and Zoning has spearheaded development of the 2045 Clay County Comprehensive and Transportation Plan, alongside of with the Fargo-Moorhead Metropolitan Council of Governments. The comprehensive plan will provide a 25-year vision for growth and development, as well as the stewardship of resources in Clay County. Several public engagement and stakeholder input meetings have occurred to ensure the plan prevents a vision that represents the diverse aspirations of the people who live, work, and recreate in Clay County. The Recorder's Office again recorded real estate documents in record numbers, superseding 2020. Along with the increased volume of recordings, the office sustained a high number of electronic submissions of those documents. The Recorder's Office completed the digitization of 100 years of real estate records and imported the documents into land records software, allowing for a 24/7 access to users. The Government Center location allows the Recorder's Office to better serve its customers with double the amount of service windows and a spacious area for the public to research estate documents. Information Service Department was a part of many important projects in 2021. The Clay County website received over 80,000 visits each month, twice the amount of traffic from 2019. Personnel worked diligently to ensure the information on the website was current and accurate for our citizens. GIS and recorder staff have been working with township officials to formally record each township's roads. Officially recorded township roads provides clarification of easements along those roads for adjacent landowners. 10 of our 30 townships have now recorded their roads. In addition, Clay County is actively working to restore missing monuments through an ongoing remonumentation program. This program is expected to provide increased mapping accuracy and reduce the costs of surveys for landowners. These monuments are essential for all property descriptions, location of infrastructure, and are the basis for accurate digital map data. These monuments were originally placed on section corners in the late 1800s and continue to be used today. Technology Service continues to work with our departments and employees to find more efficient solutions while increasing service availability. They focused efforts on cloud solutions to accommodate our remote workforce while improving functions. Rory Schmitz was hired as our Director of Technology Services this summer, replacing Tim Dent. We would again like to congratulate Rory and thank Tim for his dedicated years of service. The Veteran Service Office continued to face many challenges both internally with the service serving the public due to COVID-19. The VSO continued to be creative in finding ways to meet the area veterans' needs while maintaining a high success rate in connecting services for veterans like the VA healthcare system, even with the limited ability to meet face-to-face. Their continued public outreach has allowed Clay County to maintain the status of zero homeless veterans, which we are very proud of. With a decrease in volunteers and an increase in administrative duties brought about by COVID-19, the Board of Commissioners has approved a full-time administrative assistant for 2022 to ensure the expected high levels of service can continue to be met. We would like to thank the countless volunteers for their excellent service to our veterans while saving taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars. Construction began this summer on the new transfer station, now referred to as the Clay County Resource Recovery and Problem Materials Facility, to be located on 34th Street North in Moorhead. This project is a culmination of collaborative work with the Solid Waste Department, the City of Moorhead, the State of Minnesota, and representatives from this board. Completion of the project is slated for October of 2022, which will replace the existing 40-year-old facility. The landfill has also completed a cell expansion in 2021, providing for years of additional space. A new drop-off site at the landfill also allowed for better and safer delivery of waste and recyclables by our general public. 2021 was a very busy year for the building maintenance department. With the retirement of Georgia Boudry, the department has restructured to include a facility director position now held by Joe Olson. This position is important in allowing for closer oversight to all our buildings located throughout Clay County. This position will help administration and the county board in guiding the strategic planning of the county as it adapts to the growing needs of our community. This past fall, the Clay County Board authorized a $4 million bonding project to address the facility's capital plan, utilizing low interest rates to complete multiple years of the plan, saving taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars in interest and escalation in prices. The custodial staff continued to perform well, keeping all the buildings clean despite the added duties from COVID, construction projects, and the addition of new locations. Flood protection also continues to be an important point of emphasis. County commissioners and personnel continue to work with the FM Diversion Authority and the Morehead Clay County Joint Powers Authority and other flood mitigation committees. Commissioners have expressed a commitment to working toward permanent flood protection for Clay County. The commitment came to fruition in 2021 with the FM Diversion Authority receiving final authorization, securing of financing, and the awarding of the P3 contracts, which addresses the construction and maintenance of the project. Clay County continues to support a 2-year tax abatement program, which involves the cooperation of the cities and school districts in Clay County. The tax abatement program, started in 2012, has led to new home construction, providing competitive incentives for citizens to build and reside in Clay County. This program has helped considerably with our county's continued growth. Our county board would also like to recognize our administrator, Steve Larson, and Colleen Eck, our administrative assistant, for the professional approach and incredible work they do in conducting county business and keeping our calendar of meetings up to date. As I reported briefly in each department today, it is Steve and Colleen that do a lot of the work on behalf of the county board, working behind the scenes together with each and every department. The county board recently adopted the annual operating budget and tax levy for the year 2022. The total expenses for 2022 are estimated to be $102 million, which includes expenses reimbursed by federal and state programs. The revenue sources necessary to cover other expenses include a $38.7 million property tax levy, numerous grants and fees. The property tax represents a 3.82% net increase over the 2021 tax levy. Clay County witnessed a growth in the tax base of 1.23% due to new construction. Additional increases in expected revenue, decreases in health insurance costs as a result of new contracts, and use of some fund surpluses from 2020 were all used to determine this levy. In closing, the Clay County Board of Commissioners would like to thank our citizens for their ongoing support. As stewards of your tax dollars, this board does not take that responsibility lightly. The Clay County Board of Commissioners is committed to providing the services you have come to expect in the most cost-efficient, cost-effective, and professional manner possible. I would like to extend my appreciation and thanks to my fellow commissioners for their leadership and hard work over the past year. Lastly, I would like to acknowledge with gratitude the work of our county employees who implement the vision of this board on a day-to-day basis. Please feel free to contact any of us county commissioners or our county administration at any time if you like to share your feedback or suggestions. Thank you and best wishes for a wonderful 2022. Okay. 15 minutes over.
You did good.
There's a lot to talk about in a year when you have that many departments, so it's. All right, so the next item we have is the election of the 2022 chair and vice chair, and at this point in time, I would open up the nominations for chair for 2022.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Jenny Mojo.
Okay,
I will second that.
we have a motion and a second for Commissioner Mojo. Do we have any other nominations? Third and final call. I guess all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Chair Mojo, it's all yours.
Thank you. Looking for nominations for vice chair for 2022.
Madam Chair, I would nominate Commissioner Gross.
Okay, we have a nomination. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further nominations? Any further nominations? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Before we get going, I just want to extend my personal gratitude to Commissioner Campbell for his leadership to this board as chair over the past year. As someone who's served in that capacity once before in not a non-pandemic year, I know that can be taxing, and you served us well, and we really appreciate your leadership. Also, gratitude to our past chair, Commissioner Gross, who also had served on a couple committees as going off of that. So thank you to Frank for serving as past chair, but now vice chair. Our next item would be to establish our meeting schedule for 2022. As noted, we have historically met the first 4 Tuesdays of the month at 8:30, and no regular meetings on the 5th Tuesday. Certainly, we're open to meeting on that if business arises, but looking for this board's guidance.
Madam Chair. I think I'd make a motion that we continue with the first Tuesday of the month at 8:30 and no regular meetings on the 5th Tuesday.
We have a motion to proceed as presented by Commissioner Ebinger
I'll second that.
and a second by Commissioner Kaylee. Further discussion. Just note, I think continuing to have a Teams option is a healthy standard of practice. I think we've been able to have presenters come in if they're not able to attend. So I think having a Teams option should continue as well.
I can add that to my motion if that would help.
Sure.
Yep, that meets my second.
Yep. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Item 5 would be our request to adopt resolutions 2022 1 through 2022 4. I'd like these separate, please.
Madam Chair, I'd move resolution 2022-01.
We have a motion to approve 2022-1
Second.
and a second to appoint the Clay County Union as our official newspaper. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Madam Chair, I would move that, I lost my place here, move that we accept 2022-02, resolution 2022-02.
Okay.
Second.
And a second, that is to appoint the Holly Herald as the newspaper in which our notices and real property taxes and penalties becoming delinquent in January 22 must be published. Any further discussion? With a motion and a second, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Our third item would be Resolution 2022-3.
Madam Chair, I would move that we adopt Resolution 2022-03.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Kaylee
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Ebinger, and that is to appoint the extra designated by the Clay County Board to publish the first printing of the Clay County financial statement. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Carries. And lastly, our fourth resolution.
Madam Chair, I'd move Resolution 2022-04.
Okay, we have a motion to approve
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Eminger, and that is to appoint the Barnesville Record Review to publish the second printing of the Clay County financial statement. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Thank you. Item number 6, review our committee assignments. So the first one I'd like to entertain would be the appointment of our 2021 AMC committees. Steve, we need to individually do those?
Madam Chair, if we just list all 5 appointments, that should be sufficient.
Okay. So Commissioner Gross is assigned to the AMC General Government Committee. Commissioner Ebinger assigned to the AMC Public Safety. Commissioner Campbell is assigned to the AMC Transportation Committee. Commissioner Kaylee would be assigned to the AMC Health and Human Services Committee. And then I would be assigned to the AMC Environment and Natural Resources Policy Committee, as well as the AMC Extension Committee. Board wishes?
I move that we make these appointments as described.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Ebinger
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Kaylee. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. And then the bullet point on the Greater Fargo-Moorhead Economic Development Committee. Commissioner Campbell, is that yours?
It's actually, Commissioner Ebinger has that one, and I also serve on there, but he serves in the capacity as a county board member and on the executive committee. I serve on there representing Clay County, but I'm actually considered a member at large from that organization. And of all of my committees, that is one that I do seem to periodically have conflict with. And I would be willing to allow somebody else take that, providing that the Greater Fargo-Moorhead DC would approve that at-large position
Okay.
change. So I'm just putting that out there. I could still try to go there, but there's times when I can't make it, so.
Commissioner, when does that typically meet?
It's a Wednesday or Thursday mornings.
Okay.
They oftentimes conflict with my solid waste and then my perm meetings, so.
So that would then take me out of that if you have conflict on it. I have the same committee appointment. Commissioner Kaylee, is that something that you would be interested in having?
Sure. So is solid waste like the second Thursday? So is that
Solid waste is the fourth Thursday.
or Thursday? Yeah, I believe that is open for me.
Okay, so we could move that at large pending approval of the EDC board to Commissioner Kaylee's portfolio. The next one, I would like to address the Cass Clay Food Commission is off of mine now because of conflict of time, and that should be moved to Commissioner Kaylee's as well. Colleen, does that make sense? Okay, and then I think it's, a lot of time we talk about policy in terms of planning ordinances, and I think it's helpful to have an alternate on there, And I think that Commissioner Ebinger, if that's something that you would entertain, serving as an alternate if Commissioner Cayley can't.
What's that on?
The Cass Clay Food Commission addressed a lot of our comp plan issues, and so I think the more representation we continue to have on that, the better. And then under mine, the Children's Mental Health Local Advisory Committee, I've not been serving on that. I believe that's Commissioner Cayley's.
Yep, that one's mine.
So we should make sure that goes to hers. And then our general, moving the audit and investment and personal issues committees from Commissioner Gross over to Commissioner Campbell and I. You'll internally do that. I do have conflict, it seems, with one of my watershed appointments on the EMS First Responder Committee. I know that's not a committee that's met too often, but historically has done some collaborating with the Ullin Response and HURT and Barnesville Ambulance, seeing if someone would be interested in having that off mine. Commissioner Ebinger is giving me a head nod, so we can move that to his. That was the EMS First Responders
Okay.
Subcommittee. As you know, we have just hired 2 diversity coordinator, we're in the process of hiring a second. We've hired one for our public health. If it's the board wishes to, Commissioner Cayley and I will be doing some interviews and processing through that over the next month. Would be open to adding that committee assignment for the hiring process.
I would move that that interview process be established for those positions.
Okay,
Second.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Carried. Okay, any other notes? Yes, Commissioner Cayley.
On my list, I see Lakes and Prairies Community Action Partnership listing me as an alternate, but I am a full member.
Okay, just remove the alternate. Yep.
One more item. Once those 2 new cultural hires are in place, I think it would be good if we had a committee meeting with them and some other assorted interested county employees to look at the diversity work within the county and just kind of hash out some ideas as they come to those 2 new hires, and maybe we can work on the details later, but I would propose adding a diversity committee.
Okay.
Just can
Commissioner Campbell.
I ask for a point of clarification on that? If it's to review the positions, okay. So
No.
that's a head nod, no, okay.
No, just as, my idea was that as they're hearing things and as ideas come to them, that it would just be a safe space to talk things through and have a regular meeting between those 2 new hires to make sure that they are communicating with each other regularly, but also just space to talk about things before it would move to like a PIC committee or any other action that they might want to take. But again, I think those details could be ironed out later. I'm just proposing that we add it as a committee and then work out details with Steve and others later.
Any discussion? I think, I know what you're trying to say, and I appreciate that. I think we have to be a little bit careful about they're in departments. And so I think the safe space for working through that would be their department heads and the existing departments. I think that the goal of those hires was make sure there was outreach and networking within our diverse populations and the county work. So I think that makes complete sense, and that's great. I think there, like you said, there is clarification on that, and not sure if we want to do committee appointments until there's a standing committee. Certainly not, not saying that it can't happen. Excuse me. I mean, but if you want to make a
No, if I can.
Yeah, Commissioner.
Sure. You said something that's really important, because we were specific in these two different jobs. One is its function is working directly through public health on issues related to the pandemic and how to educate these groups on the pandemic. The other position was much broader and leading to more of the areas that you're talking about. And when we originally, through our PIC committee and our process, when we made that recommendation to move forward, that it was under the supervision of our county administrator. And I think anytime when we start creating committees that kind of deal with supervisory positions within the county, I think we need to just be careful where we're going there. I would strongly encourage if there's open dialogue we want to have in regards to the issues relating to diversity and those types of things, that this board recognize that all 5 of us can be here anytime to hear those options. You know, simply by getting a hold of our county administrator and saying, we'd like to be on the agenda to discuss these things. And those things might lead to some recommendations that could be considered, or in some areas that are maybe outside of the realm we're currently thinking of within these positions. I'm really nervous about creating committees that deal directly with supervisor positions. I'm not, if we want to talk about it further, I think I'm open to that, but.
Here's maybe a suggestion. I'm really excited about the upcoming interview process and collaborating that way. Let's work, we continue to evaluate these lists as needs arise. Commissioner Cayley, maybe let's find a scope of what the committee could be and a potential, a list of folks that we want to have around those tables to help hash out dialogue. And then we can bring it back to this committee or this board to approve something like that. And I think that's similar to what I was really excited about in terms of the jail and the mental health piece. I was really excited to start that, and it took a while to connect with community members and to start having those. But I don't think we'd be losing time if in the next few weeks we come up with what a list would look like to start having conversations. Does that appease the board? Maybe not. Maybe. I mean, if you want to make a motion, we can make a motion.
We can think about it further, that's fine.
Okay. Any other committee? In terms of Commissioner Gross is absent today, but I know that he has a vibrant list of committee members or committee appointments. I think it's important to be able to address any needs he may have if he wants to bring that up at a further meeting. But I would like the board to note that the bottom part of this is that there's approval for appointees and alternates for attendance at above meetings. Fill-in alternates for committees that do not have an appointed alternate may attend if need arises, but also there's approval for attendance at the intergovernmental retreats, all AMC and District 4 meetings, the Lakeland Mental Health meeting, and Moorhead Business Association meetings. Does that work? Steve, do you want to have a motion on this? I know we had one on the.
Madam Chair, before we finalize these committees, I know oftentimes we've talked about it at this meeting, and then we've established the final committees the following week. And in the absence of Commissioner Gross here today, I would prefer us to delay any final decision on these committees till he has had an opportunity to speak.
Okay. I think that is a fair point. Those diversity meetings are happening next week, so we've already taken action on those. Okay. Any further discussion on the appointments? No. All right. Thank you, everyone. Item number 7 is our COVID-19 update. Kathy, Jamie, and Becky.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners.
I'm sorry I kept you all here longer than you needed.
That's okay. We didn't really have anything going on today, so.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint here. Okay, we'll talk about what's going on with the data. As you can see, active cases in Clay County as of January 3rd, up a bit, 364. We talked about that there would be some lag in the information over the holiday, of course. So we had 325, the number of cases on December 27th, and now we're seeing 364 as of January 3rd. And there is still some lag due to the holidays in the numbers. Active cases in Minnesota, 26,106 on December 27th. Then January 3rd, we see an increase, 33,147. In Cass County, 599 December 27th, and then they are reporting 474. So a bit of a decrease in January. In active cases in North Dakota, 1,858, and now on January 3rd, they're reporting 1,629. So again, maybe a little bit of a lag is what we're seeing in some of the active cases. If you look across the nation, since the number of cases the New Year's weekend, there was an intense rapid spread of the Omicron variant. So they are reporting that there's 3 times as many new cases as in any previous wave of the coronavirus. So a huge number across our nation, and there's been over 1 million reported just on Monday. So we're seeing a real large spread of the Omicron variant. Active cases by age is our next slide, and we're seeing, again, broken down by the age groups, we're seeing the highest in Clay County in the age group of the 25 to 29. Clay County cases per week, and so this is starting August of 21. And you can see the number of cases each week as we went through 2021, and the last number of the 2011 as reported on 2026, although that's, again, preliminary number. That number will catch up, but so we're seeing, you see the highest back in October, and then it kind of fluctuated. We saw another spike in November, but so it's kind of been up and down each week. We're looking at now the Clay County cases per week, and this starts out from March of 2020, so since the beginning. So it shows the waves as we see that have happened throughout this pandemic. We're anticipating, of course, an increase in cases. They're anticipating another surge, another wave over the winter months. So as the variant continues to circulate, it's really uncertain how this is going to look. Here's our cumulative cases by age group. And again, highest number cumulatively is the 20 to 24 group, and then the next one is the 30 to 34. So there's the ranges of all the age groups. We're seeing total cases of 13,343 cases cumulatively in Clay County. I know they've been currently reporting, there's over 55 million confirmed cases across the U.S., so that's a staggering number, and over 826,000 deaths. So we're really seeing, large numbers now as we're moving forward. And then I'll turn it over to Becky.
Morning. So this is the updated graph from the CDC that shows the level of community transmission throughout the state of Minnesota. So the majority of Minnesota remains at that high level of transmission, including Clay County. There are 2 counties, Norman and Traverse County, that are now at substantial transmission.
Okay. That's your county.
Yes.
Are you responsible for that?
She's doing a good job.
And then this graph again shows Clay County deaths per week. We have not had any newly reported deaths over the past week, so our total number of deaths stands at 113 for the pandemic. This is hospital admissions of Clay County residents per week. For last week, you can see that we've had 6 admissions reported so far. Again, not a surprise if that number will increase as the data catches up. And then hospital capacity for our local systems in Fargo. So at the time of this report, there were a total of 6 staffed adult ICU beds available in Fargo and 4 pediatric ICU beds available. You'll note that the Fargo VA has not updated their information since December 16th, so that those numbers are dated, and unfortunately, those are the numbers we have access to. Statewide in North Dakota, a total of 16 available ICU beds available for adults, which is down a bit from last week, and then a total of 7 pediatric ICU beds available. And then this is COVID hospitalizations throughout the state of North Dakota. They are up a bit this week compared to last week. So a total of 129 currently hospitalized due to COVID and 19 in the ICU. Pediatric admissions are also up, so there's currently 5 pediatric patients hospitalized due to COVID. And then the graph on the right shows cumulative admissions broken down by age throughout the pandemic. And this is the updated graphic from the Sanford Healthcare System as of December 28th. So we continue to see the same trend week after week. It's largely the unvaccinated that are being hospitalized for COVID. So 43 of the 47 patients currently on ventilators are not vaccinated. This is the vaccine breakthrough report that's put out by the Minnesota Department of Health every week. Again, I included a side-by-side comparison from last week to the most current numbers that we have. So breakthrough cases cumulatively for Minnesota are at 4.261%. Breakthrough hospitalizations are at 0.165%, and breakthrough deaths at 0.032%. So we continue to see very, very strong protection against severe disease and death from COVID with these vaccines, even though we are seeing an increase in infections.
Jamie? Okay, good morning. Looking at the statewide vaccine data, data for December 29th are for those over the age of 5, almost 68% of Minnesota residents aged 5 and over are fully vaccinated. And then over 1.7 million have had their booster dose or their 3rd dose. And then I just took a quick peek at Minnesota data too last night, and 53% of the entire population of Clay County is fully vaccinated, and that includes the population that is not eligible, those under 4 or under 5 as well. And the majority of those, the highest is in that the 65 and over, so 93% of those. So we're continuing to do a good job on the data across Minnesota. Looking at the Clay County data, we're close to what the state ranges are for all of those age groups. So efforts continue. So then if we can go to the next slide. Then looking at the doses administered by Clay County Public Health, we have 18,674 doses that have been administered to date. Last week, just 56 doses. So we can go to the next slide. The breakdown of the 56 doses that were administered last week, again, that was a short week for us, but we had just first doses 3, continue to have a few, second doses 2, third doses are the boosters, the majority of 30, and then the pediatric doses of the 5 to 11. First dose is 7, and then we're doing our second doses as well, so we've got 14 there. And then we have a clinic, just one clinic this week, but it's split into 2 time frames in the ITV room at the Family Service Center. That clinic is on Thursday. Our first clinic is from 10 to 2 to cover the lunch hour. And then we'll have Moderna available this week, so we can have first, second, or our booster doses for Moderna. And then also Pfizer. So Pfizer for our afternoon clinic is from 3 to 5 as well, and that is for 5 to 11-year-olds, and then also anyone for Pfizer doses can have that. So Pfizer first, second doses for 12 and over, Pfizer boosters 16 and over, Thursday clinic 10 to 2, and then also from 3 to 5. Any questions about that?
Didn't Pfizer just authorize the booster for the 5 to 12 or something like that?
Yes, Madam Chair and Commissioner Campbell. The FDA expanded, so that's maybe the new announcement. They expanded the Pfizer booster for the 12 to 15-year-olds under emergency use authorization, and then also recommending a wait time from the 6 months to 5 months. However, the CDC has not signed off on that, so it's not available yet. We'll still be, watching for any recommendations from CDC, but that's the recommendation from the FDA.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have vault information?
They have not sent out any vault information. I suspect we'll get it late today or tomorrow. So next week we'll have more updated information.
Thank you. Commissioner Kaylee?
Yeah, a couple questions. On the Sanford chart, when they show on ventilators, that is purely people who are on ventilators for COVID infections, right? Not car accidents or anything else. I did also notice that our pediatric hospitalizations are up a bit. That's a little concerning to me. And what else did I write down? I don't remember what my other question was, sorry.
Oh, Madam.
I do. Sorry, I wrote it down. How smart of me. I wanted to ask Becky, when we talk about the surge that they're seeing in the cities right now, and we look at what's kind of happened over the course of our pandemic, how far behind the cities have we been in some of these case surges?
I think it's varied. So we are anticipating to see a surge. I can't tell you for sure when, but how transmissible this new variant is, I would anticipate over the next couple weeks that we'll start seeing cases rise again.
And then I'm hearing a lot about people doing at-home tests, that they can just buy over the counter. So if somebody tests positive at home and then they quarantine, we don't have that data. If they do go in and seek treatment, like for instance, go to the ER or get an infusion or something, do we then get that data later, or what's happening with that piece of information?
So we would only get that data, if the provider were to test the patient again, and then, any tests that are not reported by a lab to the Minnesota Department of Health, we wouldn't know about.
Commissioner Campbell?
Can I do a follow-up to that question? So, I think there is a lot of self-test kits available now, and there are people using them. And if they do test positive, of course, the message is for them to notify their healthcare provider that they've tested positive, correct?
Correct.
Isn't that the suggested guidance that should be followed there?
Yes,
And then if they do that, and then they follow the quarantine and all that other stuff that goes with it, but if they do notify their healthcare provider that they've tested positive, does that then hit your records?
I don't think it would unless the provider orders the tests.
So, okay, so they don't.
We only get notified.
They don't recognize necessarily the self-test as a positive test.
Correct, the over-the-counter ones. If it's a Vault at-home test that someone orders, those are reported to us. Yes, it's the over-the-counter ones that you buy at pharmacies and grocery stores. Those ones are not reported.
So Commissioner Kaylee, do you have a follow-up?
Yep. So then, for those that test positive and then stay home, I'm wondering what the current quarantine procedures would be for household members then, if you are living with somebody with an active COVID case, but you haven't tested positive, or perhaps you had COVID, you recovered, but other people in your household are still positive. So if you could just clarify a little bit of that.
Sure. Yeah, the household close contacts is among the most confusing guidance, and we're in a little bit of a limbo period because the CDC has announced their new guidance, but part of that we haven't gotten the details of household contacts on that yet. So prior to last week, the recommendation would be if you are fully vaccinated or if you've recovered from COVID within the past 90 days, you would not be required to quarantine, even if someone in your household has tested positive. That being said, if none of those hold true, you're not vaccinated, and you have not recently had COVID in the past 90 days, you would need to quarantine for 14 days after your last contact with the person that's tested positive. So that really can get drug out. If you're not able to isolate from the person, it can be up to 24 days. So we're waiting to hear if any of that's going to change.
That close contact, we're not talking about like touching necessarily. It's within 6 feet for 15 minutes or longer. Is that
correct?
how
So we really want people to be in different parts of the house. If they have a basement area that's livable, they have their own bathroom, kitchen area, really limiting contact at all, which is not always feasible.
Any further questions?
I have one more that I want to go back to, and maybe this is kind of another backup question to Commissioner Kaylee's questions regarding the ICU. We've been getting a lot of information about available ICU units. I'm curious as to how many total ICU beds do we have, and how many of the ICU beds are as a result of COVID? This goes to there's an awful lot of other reasons why ICU beds are being used in our hospitals over and above COVID. And I just want to make sure that we're not attributing all of our ICU beds to this pandemic issue, because there's still several other reasons for ICU beds. And I guess I don't, we always see how many ICU beds are available, but nowhere do we really see the comparison to the occupied ICU beds. Of the occupied ones, how many of them are pandemic related versus other? I don't know that I've ever seen that information.
And I don't know that we have access to that specific information. So we have, the availability, really, the issue is staffed beds. It's not necessarily how many beds the hospital system has.
Oh, I'm not trying to undermine the importance of the number of available beds. I'm just curious as to, there are other demands on ICU beds over and above COVID. That's what I'm getting at.
Becky, just to follow up on that, are the numbers that available ICU, are those available COVID ICU beds?
Those are in general for anything, all.
Okay.
So that's kind of the distinction between that graphic where we show number of people, the Stanford graphic, those are specific to COVID, but the hospital capacity is for anything.
And Madam Chair and Commissioner Campbell, yeah, we don't, to differentiate the number of beds that are other medical conditions versus COVID, we don't have access to that.
Right.
I can try to reach out and see if there's some information we can get.
I would think without getting into too much personal information, that there should be some sort of information available on that. I mean, if a person goes in and has a triple bypass, you're gonna end up in ICU for a while,
Correct.
you know? A lot of times, any types of surgery you have, you might end up in ICU for a little bit. And I guess there's I'm just curious as to what percentage of ICU is being taken up as a result of the pandemic.
Yeah, I can see what information I
Thank you.
can find.
Any other questions for the team? Not, thank you for your continued work. We
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 8 is a request to fill vacancies for 2 full-time correctional officers. Our administrator, Justin. Morning, Justin. You just couldn't go another week without seeing us.
Well, I think I had last week off and maybe the week before, but it's been a couple weeks.
Go out with a bang.
So, yeah, I'm requesting to fill two full-time vacancies. One of the full-time vacancies is for our work detail officer, who has provided his notice of retirement. His last day is actually next Friday, the 14th. He spent 26 years with the county, so he's looking forward to his retirement. So I'm here to request to fill that position. The other position that I'm requesting to fill is also a full-time correction officer, but it's with specific job duties as a court officer. That was a new request in my 2022 budget that I was informed was approved and passed. So I'm here to request to fill that position as well.
Okay. I think before we get too far into it, thanks to Monty. He's done a great work for all of Clay County, and I know the retirement of Dibble as well. They really, boy, if we could see the work completed by the crews they led, it would be staggering. So our gratitude to him for his years of service. But know that there was a little bit of a hold that this board put on the other piece. And I think now with the retirements, it will give us an opportunity to look critically at where the needs are and where we can maybe streamline services. And I know that doesn't really change your request too much, but I think that it gives us an opportunity to maybe examine that. Commissioner Campbell?
Yeah, so your requests are, they're to some degree supervisory positions, correct? That's what they're retiring, is that what?
So Monty's retiring. Monty's position is he's actually a correctional officer with assigned special duties as a work detail officer.
Okay.
Same with the other position.
Okay, so the reason I asked that question, I was just curious if there was a backfill issue that could happen as a result, so it could keep you from having to come back again.
Yeah, and that actually, thank you for bringing that up. When I put this together, I was going to mention that, and I totally forgot. But yeah, there likely will be a backfill component. It'll likely be that we'll assign one of our existing staff that position, which ultimately then we'll have to hire to fill that position. We wouldn't actually be looking to move those individuals until we could get some bodies hired. Because as the board's aware, we're still short-staffed. But I think this would go to help retain some of our current staff, knowing that there's some potential for some new job assignments out there. So we can go through that process, decide who those individuals are, name those individuals, and just kind of put it a little bit on the back burner to then work on getting their positions then filled. Them knowing the knowledge that at some point here, I'm going to move into this new role.
And that new role, we did approve that, didn't we? Or on those, Steve, did we?
The second position, are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yes, that was part of the 2022 budget for the additional, that was brought about just by the additional need for staff here for the additional courtrooms and also for the video conferencing within the correctional facility.
That wasn't the corporal issue.
No, that was different.
No, Justin, in terms of the work detail, how has COVID interrupted that, and are those crews, I mean, what has that looked like over the last 6 months?
So it's been really hit or miss. I know Monty has had a few things that he's done here and there. Most recently, I think just a couple of weeks ago, he helped out a church and I think waxed some floors and stuff like that for them. The pandemic has really made it hard to find individuals that qualify to go out of the facility. To serve on that crew, I think not only the jail and the sheriff's office have asked the courts to look at who really needs to be in jail at this point, but I think it's caused the courts to look at really who needs to be in jail at this point too, and kind of reform a little bit with the criminal justice system. So I think we're seeing less and less of those individuals that qualify. And that's where I think it's smart to look at the two services that the county used to offer between sentence to serve and work detail and look at, is there a need for two crews? Can we even support two crews at this point?
Right.
I would ask that we continue to support the work detail crew. I think the STS crew has options to get people from outside the facility, but I do think once we move beyond the pandemic here, we'll start to see more people that qualify. I think we already are seeing some people that qualify. The unfortunate part is with our staffing levels the way they are, those are actually the individuals that we're sending out of county.
Right.
So just because of our classification levels. So I think once we can get our staffing, I think we'll start to see a lot more of those individuals that can qualify and will qualify for that program.
Thank you. Commissioner Campbell?
Madam Chair, I move the request in addition to backfill if necessary.
For both positions?
Yes, for both positions.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the request with backfill option by Commissioner Campbell
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Emminger. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Campbell.
I want to send a message out to Monty as well. I've seen his work as a commissioner for 19 years and for 10 years, I think before that, when I was on a township position, and the work that he did and the respect he had from the community and those people that he would oversee was really good. And
Yeah.
I think our hats off to Monty. And you can go to any community center in Clay County, and part of the accomplishments of those community centers are the work of Monty and his crews. So make sure you tell him thank you.
Absolutely.
All right.
See him here in a little bit.
Thank you. Justin, thank you for your work as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Item number 9, we have Matt Jacobson, our planning director. There is a recommendation to appoint a Dennis Loock to the Board of Adjustment. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. So at their December meeting, the Board of Adjustment made a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners to appoint Mr. Dennis Loock to the Board of Adjustment. The board has been specifically looking for a member from the kind of the southeast or eastern part of Clay County, and someone who lives on a lake and would have some knowledge of shoreland issues, because those come up a lot in Board of Adjustment meetings, and Mr. Loock kind of fits all those criteria, and so I guess I request that this board makes a motion to appoint Mr. Loock to the Board of Adjustment for a 3-year term.
Thank you, Matt. This is a recommendation from the Board of Adjustment.
Correct.
And I'm excited to see his application. I know there's been a vacancy for a while, and I concur with your recommendation on the knowledge set that he will bring to the table. I think it's very important, as those are probably the most frequent requests that the Board of Adjustment sees.
Yep, absolutely.
Board wishes.
I would move the appointment of Dennis Loock for the Board of Adjustment.
Okay, we have
Second.
motion to approve by Commissioner Campbell, a second by Commissioner Kaylee. Further discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Item 10, a request to fill vacancies of a child protection, child welfare social worker. Our social service director, Rhonda Porter, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Okay, I am here to request approval to fill a vacancy that will occur February 9th. We have a resignation from one of our child protection assessment workers, She's actually moving out of the country and gonna go off on some amazing adventures. So this unit, you know, you hear quite a bit about this particular unit and the workload in this unit, and so we feel very strongly that we could not redistribute the workload to our existing staff, and therefore would be requesting to fill her position. The position is in the 2022 budget, and based on wage calculations done by HR, we would see about a $11,000 budget savings based on bringing somebody in, most likely on grade 18, step 1, versus the exiting social worker that's been here for about 7 years, so.
Commissioner Ebinger has a question.
Okay.
Rhonda, is there a potential for backfill on this?
It's highly unlikely, but it would be great if that would be a part of the motion. Most often, our new hires come, we don't see a lot of movement into child protection, unfortunately, but it would be good to be a part of the motion in case.
I go ahead and make a motion, this hire be approved and with a backfill.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ebinger to approve,
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Kaylee. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
All right.
Thank you, Rhonda. Good luck.
Thanks.
Item number 11, our request for the use of ARPA funds to purchase disposable masks.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. As you're aware, during the COVID pandemic, Gabe Tweeten has been kind of tasked with the option of keeping us fully masked here, and even with the board's change in action, we still have a mask recommendation, and certain facilities within the county still require masks as part of their daily operation. So we recently, Gabe purchased about 2,000 additional bulk disposable masks at a cost of $759.95, and our request before the board this morning would be a motion to approve that funding through ARPA.
And this item did go through the ARPA committee. Gabe had identified the need for continuing to have a supply on hand should we need it. So that's why you see the request today.
Move approval.
Motion to approve the request by Commissioner Campbell
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Thank you. Item 12 would be our committee reports. Commissioner Kaylee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did not have any meetings this past week, but just an update that the Legal Self-Help Clinic, which takes place in the law library, that contract has now been signed, and so that service will be starting up again shortly. And I just want to wish everyone a very happy new year with as much health and joy as you can grab onto. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Ebinger.
I too didn't have any committee meetings this week, and I hope we have everybody in the county has a good 2022, almost said 21. It's been a tough couple of years, and I think this one's going to be a little easier to get through. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you. Commissioner Campbell.
Thank you. I had a ARPA meeting, CARES meeting yesterday. We had a presentation regarding some truancy concerns that we're looking at. No decisions have been made yet. We've asked for some additional detail. The same with a restorative justice position. We've asked for more details there before a recommendation can be made. We spent a little bit, just a brief amount of time talking about the interview process for the Diversity and Ethnic Community Coordinator position is that next Tuesday you're doing that?
I have not looked that far.
I think it's next Tuesday you're going?
Yes,
11th.
yes.
And then we did have a little discussion again on the OSHA emergency temporary standard on vaccine and testing issues. And like I had mentioned here towards the end of last year, the importance of getting our policy draft ready and so that this board can approve a policy that needs to be done by February. I would just as soon as not wait that long, and we had that discussion yesterday, and I think HR and Public Health is working on that draft, and then I think the intention will be to go back to, who's going to look at that? Is it going to be ARPA group that's going to?
The pick, yeah.
Go to pick? Okay. Yeah, so he didn't have a microphone, so the plan will be that the recommended draft policy on that will go to pick, and hopefully we can establish that meeting soon. And then I did have I was supposed to attend a virtual-only diversion meeting yesterday. It was just a simple one-issue deal regarding an MOU. And unfortunately, the technology in my house didn't seem to work properly. I tried both my laptop and my phone, and I was unable to get in, but apparently that was resolved. And the last thing I want to just say is I've just noticed today that Commissioner Ebinger seems to be in hog heaven today.
I would call the hogs, but it seems to offend people. We saw a lot of people from Pennsylvania that kind of got pale and trembly when they heard that news, so my Razorbacks did win the Outback Bowl, so I'm a happy camper.
Well, congratulations. I have nothing else, thank you.
Campbell. I also attended the ARPA committee meeting that has been addressed by Commissioner Campbell, and I think in regards to the OSHA emergency standard on vaccine and testing, I want to thank Steve and Darren for your work in making sure that Clay County is best prepared for whatever regulation we have to present and enforce. And you had sent a letter out last week in regards to the county campus masking requirements, but also the process for making sure we're prepared for that OSHA standard that will come down. I think that at the end of any year, people look at New Year's resolutions or words that may signify, and I think collaboration is one that Clay County continues to excel at, and I think that is reminiscent of a lot of the programming that Commissioner Campbell referenced in his State of the County address. But I think this board is asking for our staff's continued collaboration in helping us get through whatever requirements are required of us. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, it's what we have to do. And there are consequences if we don't follow those regulations, to the tune of $14,000 per episode of noncompliance. And this board takes very seriously the management of our county taxpayers' dollars. Taxes are not easy to write that check out. Taxes are a burden, and we don't take that lightly, managing what that burden for people is. And this board, under no circumstances, will support noncompliance that will result in additional burdens on our county taxpayers. And it is something I implore supervisors and department heads to continue to work through getting that information from your staff members, because it is our responsibility to dutifully manage those funds, but also the public safety that goes with it. So please help us. Commissioner, County Administrator, you have a report?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, a significant portion, thank you for those comments for Darren and his staff, and Kathy and her staff have been working a great deal over the last week and a half on the emergency temporary standards. Just to kind of follow up, yesterday, Minnesota did put out their published MinOSHA document. And so essentially what they did was comply with the federal standard, with the understanding that this will be in place for a minimum of 6 months, which would take us through Saturday, July 2nd. And so, again, our department heads have been working. Just to update, yesterday was our deadline as far as collecting vaccination cards. As of this morning, we collected 429 of our responses have been that they are vaccinated, 64 unvaccinated, 7 partially vaccinated, and currently we have 126 outstanding employees that we're still waiting to hear from. Again, our supervisors and department heads have been very active in reaching out, and so we're hopeful that we'll be able to secure those in the next few days. On the 30th, I did participate in an OSHA planning meeting with Human Resources, Public Health, and preparing for the guidelines, as was mentioned earlier. Also participated in the ARPA meeting yesterday. That's been covered, and spent a significant portion of yesterday on the OSHA piece. I would just note that Madam Chair mentioned earlier, Mark Dibble is going to be retiring. He is having an open house, or they're having an open house in his honor January 6th at 1 p.m. In the probation office. So with that, I would conclude my report.
Darren, do you have anything else to add? Colleen, anything? Just an item of note as we look forward on the calendar, the county government intergovernment retreat is at the end of the month as well. Any further business? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you.